All right, so this is our presentation for our appraisal project. We evaluated a single family home in Charlotte, North Carolina. Um, just a little background on the house. Our subject property is located in Charlotte at 4401 Charleston Town Manor Drive in the Sherwood Forest neighborhood. It's a four-bedroom, four-bathroom household with approximately 2,700 square footage. It was built in 1992 and is listed on Zillow at a selling price of $559,000. So just to cover some strengths and weaknesses within our presentation and in our report, we were able to find a bunch of comparable properties pretty easily, being a just four-bedroom, four-bathroom, single-family home, pretty standard on the market right now in Charlotte. Another strength of our report was definitely our COVID-19 impact portion of it. It kind of made us step back and look more in depth at the situation total. I mean, we're all cooped up at home right now, but kind of seeing the way that it affects the real estate market as well shows us something from a different angle. But obviously, our inability to meet in person led to a bit of weaknesses in our project, but we're trying to do our best, just like everyone else, to meet over Zoom. And I'm Spencer Roberts, and I forgot to say my name, so all right.
All right, I'm Calvin Gutierrez, and I'll be going over the sales history. Our subject property was last sold in June 2003 for about $268,000. Since then, the property has been listed again multiple times. For example, in 2019, the property was relisted 4 separate times and listed again in February 2020 with interior renovations. The interior renovations boosted the property's value $35,000 higher than the listing in 2019. As of now, the subject's home tax assessment is currently $431,000, up from the $286,000 in 2017.
So my name is Kevin Wallace, and I did the sales and cost approach. And so the sales approach, it was pretty straightforward. We just decided to use, square footage, your built bedroom, bathroom, and like garage and land size. And the three that were like kind of the hardest for the adjustment, or that made it like less accurate, I think, would be the garage, bed, and bath, just because it's kind of hard to find an exact value of how much that's worth, just because there's so many different variations on what you can do. So I just went to Home Advisor for all three of those, and then just trying to figure out the best application for what we did. So that worked out for that one. And for the cost approach, for the replication of the cost, I used costtobuild.com, and it was pretty good. It could have been more accurate if I had more information on like exact square footage of each room, or interior design, like specifications, or different, like how nice they went on the finishes and stuff like that. Would have been more accurate, but I found like the land value in the public records. So the public records held a lot of pretty good information, so that made it a lot easier for that.
I'm Tristan Clove, and I'm going to discuss our last set of estimates, the income approach. So the income approach requires us to make some various assumptions for both methods. In this one, we found that the median rent in Charlotte was $1,362 per month. But this isn't entirely an accurate estimate for our particular property, since this accounts for all of the 1 and 2 bedroom single family homes in the area. And this accounts for a market cap rate of 7.43%, which may or may not be accurate going forward. We also assumed that the average annual maintenance was $1 per square foot, when we don't really know what's going to happen in the future. It might be more than that. It might be less than that. But using these assumptions, we calculate a net operating income of just over $14,000 per year. And through that, we find a price estimate of $188,000. The other method for the income approach, the discounted cash flows, is pretty straightforward. It uses that same assumption of $14,000 per year net operating income, though, which we don't really know. It is an estimate going forward. And we also assume that the holding period of the investor is 10 years. If they're holding the property for longer, it will be worth more than that. But it's an assumption we have to make. And then the discount rate of 4% will also depend on their specific financing, like situation, what kind of loans they're getting from the bank, et cetera. And we assume that the estimated selling price after 10 years is the estimate that we came up with the direct cap rate. But using these assumptions, we get another estimate of $241,000 for the property.
So my name's Patrick Gilligan. I'll be going over the reconciliation of final value estimates and our final thoughts. So as you can see here, we have each of our indicated values from the 4 value approach estimates and the weights that we gave them. So we decided that the sales comparison approach was the most accurate representation of the property's value, and so that was why it was given a 75% weight. The cost to rebuild a house is also a very good approach and is why we considered to give it a 15% weight. And then the income, because there were a few of the numbers were kind of harder to determine, we decided, and the property that we chose was less likely to be rented out and more so purchased to own personally. We decided to give each of those the smallest of the 4 weights at 5% each. And that gave us our final reconciled value of $481,973.92. And we're very happy with this final value. It's less than what it is listed for, but it is fairly accurate from the numbers that we were able to find.
My name is Dante DeMeo. I'll be talking about the COVID-19 paper. The paper just goes over how, first of all, the virus has affected the world. Everything's gone into lockdown. It's significantly stinted consumption by everybody. People aren't buying homes. People aren't buying cars. A lot of expensive things that are usually purchased every day. People are pretty much strictly keeping their consumption to food. Markets have suffered because of this. The Dow's been down over 25%. The housing market hasn't taken a hit yet. It might not take a hit. It's hard to tell because mortgage companies and banks are helping people out with loans. And if people were to buy houses now, that's the only thing that's really being stopped. How it's affected our area, Charlotte. Although Charlotte hasn't been extremely impacted, all non-essential businesses have still been shut down by the governor of North Carolina. And highly populated areas like Charlotte have been asked to just completely stay at home, only go out to go grocery shopping, do pickup if you can. So a lot of the area has been halted in terms of purchasing homes, investors purchasing homes, the construction of a lot of new properties and communities around Charlotte, which is a very big area for land development. So this is going to drive consumption and consumer spending down in Charlotte and going to force people to remain in their homes, whether that's just any normal people, people that were going to sell their home, people that had their homes on the market. So this inevitably would start to put the housing market on a decline, which is contrary to what its usual incline is, which is about 5%, which is very high. So the area is going to be affected by this pretty heavily, especially if this continues much longer. But it will likely bounce back very easily back to the growth rate that it's at, or maybe even higher, because this isn't necessarily a housing market bubble like 2007 or 2008. This isn't like a market crash. Banks and the government are doing everything they can to help individuals keep their homes. So everything will probably pretty easily go back to normal. And as far as like comparing this to 2008, I would say it's not at all similar, just because banks and the government are really trying to help people, and this isn't necessarily anybody's fault. The difficulty with the paper is this has never happened before, so it's difficult to predict what's going to happen. The government and banks, like I said, are making every effort they possibly can to keep small businesses afloat, to help people not lose their homes, not lose their belongings. And banks are giving a lot of loan forgivenesses, credit card forgiveness. So I mean, with everything that's going on, there's really no knowing how the market's going to react going forward. So anything really could happen.